Okay, so today's video is a typical fall time video. As you get towards the end of the season, you start cleaning up your mess. I brought my bag in, and I have boxes of flies, and as you can see on the inside of my bag, it's just a terrible mess of flies and things for teaching casting, and I have flies coming out of the side of my boxes, and oh my God, what a mess. Okay, so this is when I organize my fly boxes, and boy, this is a problem every year. How do I decide to organize my fly boxes? I'll put this over here, do the commercial placement. How do I do it? Well, there's a whole bunch of different ways. I've talked to everybody I know, and everyone has an opinion, and I'm hoping that we can spark a little bit of a discussion here on this YouTube channel. So typically I run with one of these small packs. I have maybe 4 boxes, but you can change these ideas, but I'm just using a typical sort of 4-box kind of system, on how to think about it. So let's think about how we arrange our flies and what we take out with us. And there are people that are minimalists, that only take out a dozen flies. And then there's people that have vests that have 800 million flies with them. So I'm kind of in the middle of that. I try to keep the number of flies I'm fishing with at a sort of a minimum, So the first thing, so a couple different ways to organize it. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of different systems. And I want you to respond and tell me what you think might be a good system. So one system is the by season system, where we have early, we have spring, early summer, late summer, fall. Some people might want to throw a winter one in there too. I don't tend to go fishing too much in the winter. I'm too much of a snowflake for that. So, or not a snowflake, maybe is a better term. So this is a typical kind of way people might set up flies, and you go, oh, okay, what are the flies that are in, the early spring on, and these, this color and these kind of things. And so, you have your boxes sort of set up by that. Another way of doing this, look, I was actually prepared, is by river. And it could be, I fish mostly the AuSable River and the Huron River, and, one is actually bass and one is more trout. And so I have very specific boxes for those 2 rivers, plus Mill Creek, which is a sort of a new fishery we have here, which is much smaller flies, and the Rifle River, which is another river in Michigan that I fish quite frequently. So you might want to set up your boxes that way. So by river or location, depending upon where you're at. Some people like to do it by the type of fish. Is it a bass? Is it a trout? Are you bluegill fishing? You take out the flies for the particular kind of fish. I know, like if you're steelhead fishing, it's going to be very different than if you're bluegill fishing. So you have your steelhead box or your panfish box or your trout box or your bass box, or whatever type of thing that you want to do by that. Another way of doing it is one I didn't really list here. Did I list it here? No, I didn't. Is just simply, well, here, let's take a look at a couple different ones. Let's look at, here's another way. Some people do it by different types of what are, I have my caddis box, I have my mayfly box, I have, all these different sorts of boxes, stonefly box. And another subsection of this might be dries versus nymphs versus, woolly buggers versus, they're more in sort of different, just your basic groups. Here's my dry fly box. Here's my nymph box. Here's my streamer box. Here's my terrestrial box. And a kind of a different approach to that might be sort of if you're a streamer guy, you might have, your Game Changer box, which is probably like a box this size. Your woolly bugger box, your clouser box, so you'll have basically different styles if you're a streamer fisherman. If you're a wet fly fisherman, you might have a different set of boxes for that. I have a friend who only fishes Adams flies. He only fishes Adams flies, and he breaks his up into, parachute Adams, female Adams versus the male Adams. I don't know how he does that. Different colors of Adams, so in his parachute Adams box, he has green-bodied ones and red-bodied ones and yellow-bodied ones, but it's all Adams, and that's all he ties. And he ties these different variations of Adams. I have a friend that does mostly wet flies, and he has a box of green wet flies and a box of red wet flies, and So all of these different sorts of ways to configure your box, I think are valid. Maybe there might be a different thing that I'm sort of missing on, versus my, whatever fits in the box technique happens, or whenever I'm done fishing, I just throw it in the bottom of my bag, and it sort of stays there most of the year until until it's done. So let me know in the comments, and I'm not trying to boost readership or any of that crap, but I'm just curious really to find out what your take on these are. So that's all I have for today. But it's a good thing to think about, and this is the perfect time of year to sort of rearrange your flies as things get cold. You're sitting at home, you don't know what to do. You've seen every episode of Below Deck, so now you're ready to do your flies. Remember, you can support our youth fishing stuff by buying a lawn trout. It's great fun, and we'll see you. Bye.